What's up, guys? It is your girl, Sarah from Sarah Styles here. Welcome to, there she is. What's up? Welcome to Monday Accountability. Thank you so much for joining. I have Daniela here with me today. I'm getting feedback. Hold on, let me put my headset in. We should have checked. Thanks for joining. Daniela is here. We are going to talk all things reselling, accountability, what we've been working on. Actually popped my cherry and was my first ever YouTube live that we talked about data. So I do want to touch base with her and kind of see, was it January maybe? It was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was definitely the beginning of the year.
So I want to check in with you and kind of see, you had just gotten the dashboard and you're all excited to talk about it. So I want to see kind of some things that you've changed since you had your data and how sales are going and what you've changed in your business model based off of your data. So we'll get there eventually. As I wait for people to hop on, I have a couple quick, it's a busy social media week for me. So I have a couple things I want to touch base with everyone. And then I will let Daniela kind of introduce herself. So first thing first, you can see behind me, I do have my palette is all organized. It's put away and all of those boxes are mystery boxes that I'm doing. When you purchase a palette, it's a lot of inventory and I can't possibly list it all based off of my schedule now. So I am trying to help other people who need inventory as well and doing mystery boxes. I say mystery because I am showing a lot of what I'm actually giving on Instagram. I mean, you won't be able to pick out what you want, but you'll see most of the items. You'll get some of those in the mystery boxes. They will be various sizes and then also by size. So you can buy them to resell or you can buy them for your size as well. Pre-sale, there is limited amounts of them. So pre-sale will go on sale on Friday. I have a form in the description down below or on my Instagram. Fill out that form if you want to make sure to get a mystery box. I will notify you as soon as they go on pre-sale. And then if you do pre-sale, you also get a free gift with it as well. So that is Friday. The form is down below. You have until Thursday to fill that out. I will send out an email as soon as they are available for pre-sale to make sure to get one if you want one. Second thing is I am working on a course on how to use your data analytics. I have the dashboards out there, but I get a lot of questions and I want to be able to support people. I did go to school to be a math teacher, so I do like teaching and supporting people and putting it all in one place. So I am working on a course. If that's something that you guys are interested in, make sure to fill out the form down below and you'll get, first dibs and likely a really good discount on that as well. One more thing, Daniela, and then we'll get to you.
I can wait. It's fine.
So PoshFest is this week. If you guys are not, eBay had their thing last week, which I heard I actually wasn't able to go because it was during the day, a school day for the kids. I heard it was kind of a bit chaotic that they couldn't get the system to work or anything. So if anyone knows anything about that, Duncan, you might have something to say about what happened with eBay. It was more of like a celebration thing, but I wasn't able to go to that. But PoshFest is this week. So Thursday starts the pre-party. It is a huge pre-party, and all the proceeds are going to Kim City, who was in an accident and can't walk, and she's in rehabilitation, actually here in Denver, Colorado. So all of the proceeds go to her. I am actually going to be on the panel for that. So that's starting on Thursday. Friday is the first day of PoshFest, and I am doing a recap on my YouTube channel at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard. It's going to be a live panel talking about what happened on PoshFest for day one. So if you can't make PoshFest or you can't go to all the sessions, make sure to join me for that. Saturday is the second day of PoshFest, and I am speaking on spreadsheet success at one of the panels around 11 or 12 o'clock. I'm going to have to figure out exactly when I'm speaking, but that's in a week. I have time. So I will be speaking. If you are going to PoshFest, I am speaking on spreadsheet success. If you can't make it or you want to go to a different session, if I remember, I'm going to record it and put it up on the YouTube channel so you guys can watch it as well. And then Monday, so a week from today, instead of the accountability chat, I'm going to have on Girly Girl Styles and possibly one other person to talk about day 2 of PoshFest as a recap. So that is my disclaimer. Thank you guys for staying with me. Sorry, Daniela, I don't usually have so much. It's a busy week this week for me, so I want to make sure everyone knows what's going on. Daniela, how are you? Why don't you introduce yourself she's been on my channel before, but for people who don't know, maybe a little bit about yourself, reselling, and other various adventures that you do as well, podcasts, YouTube, all that.
All that fun stuff. So hi, everyone. Please excuse my relaxed appearance tonight. I'm in pajamas, and I'm quite comfortable, and I wasn't about to change for YouTube. So
That's nice.
anyway,
Whereas I have slippers on.
I got New England Patriots sweatshirt on. She's got a Red Sox. We're all New England right here, right now. So anyway, hi everyone. My name is Daniela. I am a part-time reseller. I feel like I use the word part-time reseller, but I really need to just stop. I am just a reseller because I basically work on a full-time reseller schedule, but I do have a full-time job. I am a state employee. I work in the unemployment and temporary disability unit for state government. I work in the administration part of it. So I am quite busy and have been since the pandemic first hit in March. So that is my full-time professional life. I am also a teacher by trade. I do have a master's degree in teaching the visually impaired, and I did that for 6 to 7 years, and life happened and I'm in a different direction now. But I do have a podcast and I have a YouTube channel. So the podcast is Thrifter's Villa, which is with Lori Tata, who is Lori's Boston Found here on YouTube and Instagram and all over the place. And it's a reseller-based podcast, but we also talk about business and entrepreneurship and just everything, lifestyle, fashion, you name it, we talk about it. And that's so much fun. We are coming up in a year. December 31st will be 1 year that we have had the podcast. So that's been a lot of fun. I started a YouTube channel, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I haven't been super active with it just because my schedule doesn't allow for it at the present moment. And I've been really focusing on building the reselling aspect of my business as much as I want to be creating content and putting stuff out there on YouTube. I just haven't found that balance yet. And a lot of it is because I'm focusing so much time on building the actual business that's going to help me pay off all my debt and save for a new home. So that's me.
That's exciting. And I wrote down about 17 things that I wanted to talk with you about. So we'll see. Last week, we didn't get into accountability because I had Breezy Brown Breezy.
Yeah,
and why am I?
No, Kristen, voyage is verb.
Yes, thank you. Voyage. I
Welcome.
was saying and I could see her curly hair, but I was like, I can't get the word out. Yeah, and we actually never even got into it. We just started chatting all the things. It was a great session.
It was an awesome live, and a lot of my philosophies on automation and just streamlining businesses are very much in what Kristen has to say, and her and I have talked about it a lot. So it was a very, very interesting conversation.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys haven't watched that one, make sure to go back. It's on my podcast if you just want to listen, or you can watch the recording on YouTube if you want to watch that. But we did spend a lot of time talking about PoshMark and automation, and there's a lot of controversy with the sharing. And what I thought was interesting is something she had mentioned is part of what they're doing is probably because they were going to go public, and then they released this week that they did a draft for an IPO. So it'll be.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, how about it?
Really interested to see what direction they're going to start taking the platform, because once you go public, I mean, it changes everything. It changes literally everything. So I wonder if at PoshFest there'll be any discussion about maybe improvements that they're going to be making. I highly doubt it. However, it's just going to be very interesting to see that transition into what they'll be doing. Because the platform is going to have to change in some way, shape, or form.
Agreed. So. And I don't think, because they just released the draft I don't know all the terminology, the draft saying that they're going to file. And so it's so fresh that I don't think that they'll say anything. They might say something like, hey, we're going IPO. I don't think that they're going to release anything that they'll do, because that can take a while until they start sharing more. But I agree with you. And I'm interested to see, I'm hopeful that it'll be good things that come out of it, but the vision. So when you go public, you now are governed by a board, and the board may have a different vision than the current founder. I guess is the right word. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm interested. I don't know if you want to share more, if you have other thoughts on things that you think might happen, or what.
I just think the platform itself is going to be very much, it's going to be very different than what we're used to. I think the focus is going to have to change because there are other financial aspects that need to be hit on their end. Like they have to hit certain goals on their end, and it will probably change things as sellers as well. I don't know if that means certain things will increase, or I don't know. I mean, it really depends what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
And it
and
also means, I
I
mean,
was
the
just
other
going to say
thing,
the flipping gals here. They asked, I don't know if it's Marina or Michelle, but they were asking if we know the financials on Poshmark. They sometimes mention it in articles that they've been. They say that they've been doing really well. I don't really know where they fall in the bracket of financials, though. They don't really
and
release that, but
no,
they'll
and they
have to.
don't,
They will
yeah,
have to release it, though. They
they
will.
will. Oh, Amber resells. I'm sure she has good insight.
Hi,
So
Amber.
they will have to release it. And the other thing, so once you are public, you have people who are buying in and they see it as a business. They want to make money. So things may change and be a bit more not as fluffy, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not going to give this new feature if it's not going, like, what is the bottom line? And they're going to have, which to me kind of makes me happy because I'm like, they're going to
I'm there
hopefully
with you.
I'm
I'm very excited for it because
yeah.
I want a less fluffy, more streamlined type of thing. Like, do what eBay and Mercari do. Don't be so fluffy. I'm over it.
But yes, and this is something that we talked about last week too. The
Yeah.
reason that something that makes Poshmark different
Yeah.
is some of that fluff. Like none
It
of
is.
the others, you can get on Poshmark day one and make a sale if you know to share. I mean, you can make sales that say cute hat. Like you don't have to know
Mhm.
pictures, you don't have to know SEOs, you don't have to know shipping, you don't have to. And so I'm interested to see if they can still manage to keep that aspect of it without, because if they get too businessy, then it's an eBay and then just go on eBay, right? Like people left
Yeah.
eBay to go to Poshmark. So I am interested. Amber is saying, I'm also extremely interested to see how this changes the platform. They
Yeah.
will also have access to more capital, which could be
Yep.
good. However, I mean, that capital comes at a cost, right? Like you have shareholders that you have to please.
Which is so true. Because right now they have investors, right? That they have to please. That's just the way it goes. It's going to work the same way. You're still going to have to please those people. So,
This is
Amber, yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised. So, hi, Daniela. I hope they finally take care of the inactive users after
Yeah.
the IPO. I've always wondered if keeping them to keep their user number high for marketing for an IPO. Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that has to do part of us having to be on the app all the time. Shows like, oh, hey, our users are on there, 7 hours a day or whatever. And maybe once they have an IPO, they can say, okay, that's a waste of your users' time.
Correct.
Because I'm kind of headed, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this as well. Now that eBay is performing as well, if not better than Poshmark, I'm kind of overdoing all of the Poshmark type activities because I did a video on Instagram. I just got on TikTok, so now I'm like doing these cute TikTok. I'm like, 6 months to a year behind, but I did a cute little TikTok. I can do my offers on eBay in 30 seconds.
Yep.
If I did all of those, we were talking about this too. If I did all of those offers on Poshmark, that can take me hours.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how that kind of steers and where that goes, or if they steer in the way of, hey, we don't want full-time resellers. We want these cleaning out the closet type of people and not. So it'll be interesting.
I think that's the ultimate decision that they're going to have to make, right? Which way you're going to go? Are you going to go, you want to support the full-time resellers like a Mercari or an eBay, or there's other platforms, obviously. Or do you want to cater to the people that are just cleaning out their closet? It's a simplistic app. People can go on. It's very simplistic, right? That's a big business decision to make. Because they're kind of teetering right now. They lean one way and they start to lean another way. And then they lean one way. And I don't think they really know what direction they want to go in. And this might force them to make that decision now.
Or to be able to, I've always thought, Poshmark, go ahead and take this idea because I think it's a great idea. But I've always thought that you could buy like a business account, like kind of how on eBay you get a store to where you keep it simplistic and you can clear out your closet or whatever you want. But then if you buy into a business store, then you get like all of these certain like one share button and you can do sales and because I would pay a subscription on Poshmark, right? Like I pay it on eBay. But then you could still have the simplicity of, okay, I just, I'm getting rid of my maternity clothes. But then you could also have the full-time resellers. I think it's hard for us as full-time resellers to remember that we are not what make up Poshmark. We're actually a very small community in Poshmark. Poshmark is the majority of people, onesie twosie clear, everyone is not full-time resellers.
I agree.
All right, so that's our little spiel on the IPO. Stay tuned. Was going to talk about it a little bit on Wednesday as well, because it is going to impact how things change on Poshmark. They did file last year and then pulled back. And so just because they filed a draft doesn't mean that it's actually going to go public. We still have to watch what's going to happen.
Interesting than the middle of the pandemic, but they're saying they're doing well. So I just thought it was interesting. It was an interesting business move.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, I mean, e-commerce sales are up.
They are.
So it could be, yeah. Okay.
However, I guess the overall consensus, I am not experiencing this, but the overall consensus is that Poshmark has been slow the last few months. I have not experienced that. I can't say that it's been slow, but I've heard from many other people within the Instagram community or outside Instagram community that Poshmark has been slower for them and their sales have really picked up on eBay and Mercari. So I don't know.
Yeah, which again, the community that you're talking to are reseller community, because I would agree. I've heard that as a consensus. My data is showing that as well. I'm down year over year. However, we are not what makes up Poshmark, and they are saying they are having record sales and they're having record new people. So I think what's happening is Poshmark is actually getting saturated. And so as resellers, and then also because it's saturated with newer people that are willing to take $10 for a pair of Lululemon leggings that they're getting rid of their closet, as resellers, it's not so good. But as Poshmark as a whole, they're saying that they're actually up, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it'll be interesting if Poshmark is good for resellers or not. It may not be the best place for us to go. Yeah, we'll see. So, but on that note, so you're talking a little bit about the economy and stuff. You work for unemployment. Do you have like, I mean, obviously you can't say like inside scoop, but how are things looking over there for you guys? And I mean, I'm seeing sales are starting to slightly increase for me, but I don't know how. Anything you have to say on that?
So I think there are people that have gone back to work with schools starting back up, right? So now you have a whole population of people that work within the school departments that are now back full-time in some capacity or part-time in some capacity. So those people that were collecting, because certain people that work in the school department are contracted, so they can collect. In our state anyway, it's different everywhere that you go, but in our state, they are allowed to collect. So you have those people going back. So it does lower the unemployment rate. However, there's also so many people have been unemployment since March. People have run out of benefits. Some people have refiled and some people have can't refile because they're completely out of benefits as they've been collecting for over a year or whatever it is. So the numbers.
So what do they do?
So there's other programs out there for them that they can go down. But the numbers don't always show the truth. And this is across the board and everything. So there are a lot of businesses that are still closing. There are a lot of businesses that are still closed. There are businesses that are now closing because they've been closed since March and they can't sustain it anymore. And if they were to open, it'd be at such a small capacity. So we're still seeing layoffs. We're still seeing people not being able to return back to work. We don't see this ending anytime soon. Let me just put it that way. We don't see this ending anytime soon. And we have obviously waiting to see if the stimulus check goes through. We're waiting to see if there's anything that happens with unemployment. There was that small, increase and boost that they gave out. But if this is going to continue as we're seeing it, then there needs to be more.
Yeah. That's going to happen. It's going to depend on what happens in a month. I mean, nothing's going to happen now, which is unfortunate because it's like people still need it now. Just because we're in the midst of an election, people still need it. It's really unfortunate that they haven't been able to get another stimulus out. But I'm with you on this. And just from the economy, even once we get a handle on COVID in whatever capacity that is, how we can handle it, the economy is going to take much longer to recover because you can't, especially everything that happened, you can't. And it depends on how they recover with COVID. If everything can go back to normal, maybe slightly less. But right now, if you're doing quarantines, every time something happens, if you're backdating, moving backwards instead of being proactive, then people are out of work for 2 weeks, right? And then they're out of, and then it's just a big hot mess.
It spirals. And the other thing about it too is I think people are seeing it's possible the reason why we saw a small boost in sales, and we have been seeing a small boost maybe in September, is because people received that extra money in their unemployment checks. They received that, it depends by state, but it was anywhere between $300 and $400 extra, right. And it was retro. So people got a big lump sum all at once. So that also could have contributed to why September sales are a little bit higher for some of us. So, it's always important to keep in mind all these different things when it comes to sales. Sarah and I talk about this all the time. I received a bunch of free inventory this month, and my sales have skyrocketed because of it. And, and I have a lot of attention coming to my closet, but it's because of the items that I was given and that I'm listed. So like all these factors play into your data. So sometimes it's a little skewed, but you have to keep that stuff in mind when you're looking at this stuff. And the economy is super important to at least have a general understanding of. You don't have to be like crazy detailed and all of that. But just to know where the market stands. Like today, the stock market was doing great because there's talks about the stimulus possibly being passed by the end of the week. It's probably not going to happen, but that's how economy works.
Well, there's also a debate today. And so
yeah. So there's so many things politically that are involved with stocks going up and stocks coming down. And at the end of the day, the economy is suffering and the markets aren't doing well. So they may go up and down a lot, but in general, they're not doing well. And I think there'll be some sort of housing. I'm not gonna say crash. I don't think it's gonna be a crash. I think there'll be something has to give with the housing market because it's so inflated right now. It is so inflated. But
yeah. Well, and I think that was headed, at least I'm in Denver, and I think Boston might be similar. Well, you're outside of Boston. But New England, it was headed that direction anyway. I think COVID just kind of because interest rates were going down and down and down, and then they COVID hit and they just went crazy, which we capitalized on. We bought a new house, 3 weeks into quarantine. But yeah, I agree. The housing market, it all will. And the flipping gals are saying, which is true, it takes a long time for things to recover. The recession in 2008 took over 10 years to recover, and some have recovered even from that. So, and I think you have very valid points. I'm big on data, but you have to know your data and this is something I kind of talk about in the class too, is how to know when what you're doing is driving your sales, or if there's outside factors as well. And you kind of have to be mindful of it all. I'm not an overly political person, but you have that drives the economy. There's a very heated political, in general, an election year is going to cause things with the economy. But right now, for sure, a pandemic, very heated election is going to cause a lot of concern in the economy on top of COVID.
And I think with the pandemic too, because it's now such a variable in every state. So here, the numbers are starting to go up significantly since colleges came back and everything. I mean, it was going to happen, right? I mean, it was bound to happen. We all knew it was going to happen at some point in time. But now the numbers are, they're really increasing. Just this past weekend, we averaged about 100 cases a day. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They average they just do one big lump sum on Monday, and we basically averaged 100 cases, which we were on the downtrend. We were at 40 cases, 50 cases, and now we're back up to 100. Hospitalizations are going up. So I don't know.
What's the positivity rate though? Because a lot of what's happening.
I don't know. They're going to have a conference. They do this, what do you call it?
Like a press conference?
Yeah, like a press conference. Yeah. They're going to do it tomorrow and I think on Wednesday too. Last week was every day because of schools. So for 2 weeks they did every day because schools were back in session. The last I heard, I think it was still at 1.5 or 1.6.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
but we're a small state though. So you have to keep that in mind. We're very small. So if we reached at 2%, then we'd have to go all the way back to phase 2, basically. So the closer we get to 2%, then we get things taken away from us, which then it's going to hurt the businesses, which we're right back where we started in March. So
that's the hard balance. Yeah, that's a hard balance with you have to figure out how to, people's health and the health concerns. But if you shut everything down, the economy shuts down and then people don't have jobs. And then, I mean, I never wanted to be a politician before, but for sure not right now.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it's a very hard line to walk. My husband is on.
Listen,
Can I just say I appreciate the
New
cost of
England
beer.
haters, they don't get it. Our teams
no.
are just really good, okay?
Right. Well, I'm pretty sure this is his hat. Because my father-in-law, so if for those of you who aren't watching, my husband's from the Boston area. But my father-in-law is big into sports and says my husband, like, every year he gets like official sports gear, and you know how expensive official, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't wear it. So I'm pretty sure this is, I think that, yeah, the sticker is still on it. It was just sitting up. I just grabbed the closest hat to me. Okay, enough economy talk.
Anyway.
I hope this was helpful for all of you, but I do want to talk a little bit. So when you first came on, it was pre-pandemic for sure.
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, you had just gotten the dashboard and we were talking all the things and how excited you were. I want to touch base with you on what you saw then for people who didn't watch that one. Just a quick overview of like what you saw then and how you changed your business model to kind of where you're at now, and like kind of the progress of what you looked at and what you've changed and how it's progressed. And then also the pandemic's going to affect that as well.
Yeah. Well, but
so you may have checked in. Yeah, you may have checked in a couple different times since then. But
so I get the dashboard. Let's start from the beginning. And I was fairly new to the reselling community. I mean, I had been a reseller without knowing it since I was 16 years old. I sold on Craigslist, I sold on eBay, on Amazon, I did it all. Etsy, I sold on everywhere. But I didn't consider myself nor did I know what a reseller was. So I just did it to make extra money, to pay for school books, to, help my parents out with something, or I wanted to buy a new handbag. And that's what I did. I would sell my 2 handbags to get a brand new one at the Coach outlet. Like that's what I did. So, the first few months of reselling for me were just kind of, me selling things out of my closet, sourcing, but not really understanding what sourcing meant, a few bins trips, like just kind of testing the waters. And this is what most people do, right? When they start reselling is you just start testing things and you sell things and you see how it does for you. And you think you're doing the right thing, but you really don't have anything to back it up to say that, yes, this stuff is actually working for me. So when I got the dashboard, I first did a year in review. And Sarah was on the podcast as well. And Lori and I talked to her about it. We talked about our year in review and what we noticed and different trends. And, the one thing that stuck out to me then was that Free People in Anthropology were my top sellers. And now when I think back on it, Sarah, I think it was because I picked it up all the time. Even if I thought it wasn't selling for me, it's what was in my closet for the most part because I knew it. Like I understood it more. I didn't really know like other brands that were out there that people liked because I didn't know about websites like Net-a-Porter or Shopbop or any of those websites. Like I didn't understand what that stuff was. I basically knew like high-end luxury and then like everything else. Right? Like I didn't know that in between that mid-tier luxury. I didn't really know that stuff. So anyway, we do that year in review. I take that data and I really started to analyze it in January. And my goal in 2020 was for every month to me to take the sales report and analyze on a monthly basis, okay, what brands are still doing well for me? And I keep a running record of everything. Okay, in January was these. Okay, February is still the same. All right, and I kind of gauge what items I should be sourcing. What's my average sale price on these items that I'm selling? All of that stuff. So I really started to dive deep into that January, February. Really felt like I was getting into the groove of all of it. And then the pandemic hits and I'm a state employee on top of it. And March, it's the last week of February, all of March and all of April is a blur because the amount of hours that had to be put into work, I was still selling, but I was by no means, I couldn't source. That wasn't a thing. I was getting donations. I was sending things into ThreadUp. I was selling stuff, but not the way I had envisioned my March and April to be, right?
I think we were all there. You maybe a little bit more because you were an essential employee and putting in like ridiculous hours. I remember talking to you and you're like, I've worked like 80 hours. So you more than others, but everyone which has it's pushed me into comfort levels. And I think you might touch on this as well. But what I was doing, like you couldn't do anymore. So you had to figure out new things to do.
Yeah. And I mean, the donations was fun because I did keep some stuff to sell and I sold it. And there were brands that I would have never picked up.
Mm-hmm.
But what it taught me was that even though these are brands that I may never pick up at the thrift store, if I were to get them in donations again, or if I were to find them in the bins, if I ever go back to the bins, which right now it's not on my radar, I'm not going to go. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I help take care of my elderly grandmother. I can't do that. Even go to the thrift store, I don't see her for a few days when I go. So I'm very, very cautious. Anyway, so, you know, and the other thing too that I thought about was I'm selling them at a very affordable rate. So let's say I have like a loft sweater. I wouldn't normally pick that up because if I buy a loft at the thrift store, it's probably like $9.99. So I can't pick it up at the thrift store.
Mm-hmm.
But having those affordable pieces in my closet helped bring other people in that were looking for things to wear that I normally don't sell. So I had a different customer coming in, which was really nice. And it taught me a lot of different stuff too. I also started online sourcing. That was probably the biggest learning curve that I had during it all. And then when it came to the data, I had to adjust my mindset and my mentality around what my average sale price was, how much I was spending, what my cost of goods was, because my cost of goods went much higher than what it would have been if I was sourcing.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot in that aspect of my data. Now that I feel more comfortable with where I am in my business, I've had to really adjust and think about what the consumer really wants. Because even though a lot of people may be unemployed and don't or aren't shopping as frequently, there's also a group of people that are still shopping or are preparing for Christmas or, you know, are shopping for themselves or they have weddings, or that market still exists. So I don't want to forget about that side of it because that's where the majority of my extra income comes from. But I'm also focusing on that other group that I never looked at before, that now I'm even seeing in my data. Well, I would have never in a million years thought American Eagle and Loft would be in my top 10, but they are now. So data just, it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and it's making me evolve and change as a reseller for the better, because I think I was just a one-track mind the whole time. And I've really had to branch out, and it's working in my favor, which is good.
Yeah. And I mean, you do very similar to what I do. I check in daily because that's who I am. But I also really analyze everything weekly because I do a YouTube video, which it actually helps me stay accountable to like really check in and see. But it allows me to make quick pivots and be able, because you have to be able to stay ahead of things, right? If you're like, oh, I'm not making money, I'm not making money, I'm not making money, and then it's been 6 months and you have no idea why, like you're going to get suppressed. If you can quickly look once a week, once a month, what it is, and say, hey, my ASP, like right now, my ASP is going down. I'm going with that. People are spending less. I'm looking at the brands that are lower ASP, ways that I can be more efficient in my processes. If I'm going to be selling lower sale price items, I need to sell more of them, which means that I need to process quicker, right? Like if I want to spend the same amount of time and make the same amount of money, ideally more, how can I find ways? And I wouldn't have known that. And I think something that you brought up too is there's a lot of talk in the community, which is great. I love our community. I love the YouTube people. Everyone shares things in Instagram. There's a lot of helpful information, but you have to keep in mind that that's what's working for them or not working for that specific person. And something, and I'm noticing this, I'm starting to get high enough up on social, like I wouldn't say I'm like a social media star by any means, but I am getting, like, as I'm doing more and more YouTube, my eBay external site views are increasing. So what I'm saying is selling is not what would sell for someone who's not on social media, because they're not getting that. Do you know what I mean? Like take the social media aspect with for what you can, but then you also need to be looking at your stuff. And you can make like bread and butter sells, or these mid-tier, you know, like all the things that you see on social media, try that and see if it's something that works for you. And you may not be able to even get that, right? Like there's a lot of stuff I'll see a haul and I was like, I'm never going to see that in my life. Like
you might, you never know.
Well, and now I know, but I'm not going to plan my business off of this one brand that they sold for $1,000 and hope that I find it.
No, you can't do that. But I think to go off of what you were saying too, social media is great. I mean, it brings people to your business. It's wonderful. It's also a lot of work. So I will say that since I hit about 5,000, maybe a little before I hit 5,000 followers on Instagram, which is like, ooh, big milestone, right? You're almost there. You're almost at 10K. We get to swipe up.
That's glorious.
It's like, right, like that's like the big thing that everyone wants to do. My local sales, people that are local to me have been going to my PoshMark, because a lot of my followers they're New Englanders. My sales to New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts have like skyrocketed, and it's nice. Like I love that. I love that they're shopping my PoshMark store. But it's interesting how that plays a part into the business, because I tried running sales previously when I had maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers. It never really worked. It works now, which is great. And I would never want to take advantage of any of my followers or anything. But if I want to start clearing things out and I want to offer them a really great discount on the items that I have that opportunity to do that now. So it is helpful, but it's also a ton of work. So
yes, I spend as much.
To do it, don't.
Yeah, and you don't have to, but that's my point is, like, when you are like your sales, like before I had a following, run a sale, and it's like, no one's going to do a sale. Like, no one knows who I am. But now, like, people actually like look at my post and at my stories, and I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this. Let me go to a couple of my friends' closets and see if because I'd rather buy from someone that I know, right? And that's what social media does to you. You can absolutely be a reseller without social media. I'm not saying that, but when you're taking advice from people on social media, just keep that in the back of your mind, that is also influencing their data or their sales, because they have that added, especially these really big, we're itty bitty little social media.
We're like this small,
right, but we're already seeing it. So imagine, some of these really big people, and they're like, oh, I sold this amount. Well, how much of that is people that saw your haul on social media, your 10,000 views that went to buy it? And yay for you. But that doesn't mean that's going to sell for me, because I don't have 10,000 views on my haul videos. Right? Like, I wish I did. I don't even do haul videos, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about so you mentioned American Eagle, lower stuff is selling. I will pick that up if it's going to give me a high sell-through rate, right? So if I know that it'll sell, I don't want it to sit. If I'm only making a couple bucks, I don't want it to sit. But you touched on luxury and mid-luxury items. And I was reading an article the other day that luxury is actually going up, and it's expected to go up, because those, I don't want to say that. That's a terrible way to word it. People who purchase luxury aren't necessarily hit as impacted by everything that's happening. And they're not able to be taking their vacations. So they're having an influx of income, like all of this extra income, because they're not going on, all of these fancy, so they're buying handbags, and they're buying, luxury type luxury brands. And my purses have still remained top sellers for me. And I sell, mine are like mid luxury purses. So I want to hear what you have to say.
That you say that, because I typically, when I pick up purses, but I'm very particular on the purses that I pick up, because they, like Coach and Michael Kors, for example, typically do not sell well for me. And I know they sell well for you. So I happened to be in the thrift store, and the day I just got really lucky that day, and there were 5 basically brand new Michael Kors leather handbags. And they were only priced at $14.99. And I said to myself, you have 20% off. So get them. Worst case scenario, you double your money, right? Like, that's the way I always look at things. Worst case scenario, I can always, if I can double, fine. I'll take the risk on it. Well, let me tell you, I sold all of those handbags for $150 to $300. And I would have never, ever, ever imagined that. So I have to say, handbag sales have definitely gone up, because I've sold some other more luxury handbags as well in the last couple of months on full asking price. I've sold luxury shoes for full asking price. So I can see that trend happening, where certain customers and clientele, maybe they can't go to that typical store that they were going to. Maybe the Nordstrom near them shut down, or maybe those hours are limited and they can't get there. Maybe, I don't know, all these different stores went out of business. Entry 21 is going out. Barney's went out. Neiman Marcus is going, all these different luxury type stores, right, that sold that mid-tier and higher end luxury items aren't around anymore. And they
were closed for a time period.
Right. So people are now resorting to online, and as long as the item looks good, they're buying it. A lot of people that buy luxury, though, that are collectors. So if you are a Louis Vuitton collector or you are a Gucci collector, there's all different collectors out there, right? The Chanel collectors. You want the older styles. You want to put those in your collection. It's a piece that you may not ever wear. It's just like it sits on a wall that and it's it shows the different centuries of that. I know I can't imagine that. Like if I had a Chanel
That's a
bag,
far different life than I live. Yeah.
Right. Like that's
I actually probably wouldn't. I would be so scared that I would do something to it. I probably would never actually wear it. It would actually sit on a wall, not because I collected it, but because I'd be so terrified that like my kid would like smear peanut butter in it or something.
But it's true. It's definitely, there are people out there, that's what they do. And a few people I've seen post on Instagram as well, they've had movie studios or different designers buy stuff from them in their Poshmark closet, and it's because they're getting ready to start filming again, and they're getting inspiration for different scripts that they're creating. So don't be surprised if you see one day a big sale come in for an item that you have, and it's going to a movie studio. They do it all the time. That's what designers do.
A lot of vintage sellers see that as well. So like they do a movie back in the 50s. So someone told me, Breezy actually told me, she was like, tampons, like vintage tampons are all the rage. And I was like, okay, first of all, I hope you're talking like not used. And she's like, no, like in the box. But she was like, if you can find them, because they want realistic things, and finding tampons from back then or any like beauty products. And I was like, I would never have bought used tampons, even like from the 90s, like people are. Leslie popped on. If you guys don't know Leslie, definitely follow her. Social media is included in my business plan. I purposely and strategically use social media to build my business. It's absolutely part of my business. I talk about this last time when I was talking with Chris about trying to get my business a bit more sustainable and kind of working for itself so that I can spend a bit more time on, I call it branding, but things like courses and YouTube. And because that is, I probably spend more time on branding and social media than I spend on reseller activities. Not for everybody, but if it is, then that is definitely so. It's amazing that we live in a world that we can do that all for free. It's a huge learning curve and you have to figure it all out. But it is really nice. Margaret is saying, I sold my first handbag the other day. Actually, Kate Spade Factory, not a fan of shipping handbags or shoes. I hate taping boxes. I'll tape a box for a $50 sale, like all day, every day. Michelle is going to be on Friday on the Posh Fest live recap, so definitely make sure to join us there. Yes, I'm trying to use my social media to learning, but we'll continue to fail forward, as Leslie says. Did I read that right? Yeah. Okay. It said I remote learn 3 kids. Well, one's my stepson, so he's not here this week. So 2 kids. So by this time, my brain is mush.
Hence the pajamas.
And the hat. My hair is a hot mess. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll put lipstick on just so I pretend like I am doing something.
Let's talk about, I was going to say, I talked to Sarah about this earlier. I wanted to compare my September 2019 to my September 2020. Because my September, so now we still have a couple days left, right? We have 2 days left, whatever. But I wanted to compare it because September, I couldn't remember what my September looked like last year. I knew it was really good, but I couldn't remember to what degree. And my September right now has been probably it is my best month to date this year. Now, obviously the numbers this year are a little skewed because COVID. So March, April, May, not the best, but it's okay. So, I have my notebook right here. So, September 2019, my gross sales were $3,172. That was gross. My net was $2,456. And my average sale price was $33.74. So really great. That's awesome. Yeah. That's where I want to be. So for this year, for September, I'm at $3,400 gross. My net is $2,800, and my average sale price is $40.99. So $41. So I have increased, but I'm right about at the same point that I was, which was interesting to me because I was not picking up the same stuff as I am now. I definitely wasn't as strategic in my sourcing as I am now. So maybe September is just a good month. I don't know. I need another month. I need another September to really be able to figure out like, what's the trend here? Why is it that September the numbers are equal almost. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that is very, very close. So a couple of things in you talking. So your average sale price is up almost $10, which means you've sold less items, which this is where I was headed for a while. And then the pandemic hit and I've kind of pivoted a little bit, and you're showing that you can still do it. You can still be selling a high average sale price item. You're spending less time in theory. I don't know your whole business, but in theory,
I am spending less time, 100%.
Right. Because you're shipping less items, you're likely having to source less. If you're selling higher price items, they may sit for a little bit longer, but you're getting more of a payout, so you don't need to sell as many of them. It's a really good strategy for full-time, people who have full-time jobs or social media. That's kind of why I was doing that for a while, so I could spend more time on social media. The other thing I wanted to touch on, September, typically speaking, it's hard to say this year because a lot of people stay at home remote, but typically speaking, it's back to school. So people are buying things to go back to school. Colleges, they want all their cute little gear, all the anthropology, the handbags that, and going back to school. So that's typically why September is, and so I'm wondering if September is still, a lot of places did go back to school, remote. I haven't seen percentages. Our district, you could choose, and I've heard that it's like 80% have gone back to school. So it's still a large percent of people going back to school.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I just thought it was interesting that I was in a completely different place last year with my sourcing, with everything, not as strategic. And then this year I'm super strategic and very particular with my sourcing. And my average sale price has gone up significantly, which is what I want ultimately, is I want my average sale price to be higher. And I'm also spending less money. So I'm better at sourcing, which is important to me. So
yeah, so things are selling. What you're buying is your sell-through rate is probably for the new stuff that you're
my sell-through rate right now was 48% for the month of September. So that was
right. So what you're buying is selling, and what you're buying is selling higher. So on that note, quickly, I do want to hop on over to the chat. My husband's on, and you guys can only imagine our conversations because he also does analytics and dashboards for a living. And just something that he noted is you'll have a dozen interesting stories in the data, but what matters are the 2 or 3 actionable items in it, which I think is, something that you're talking about. Is you can look at the questions I get a lot is like, and I think even when you first started, oh my God, this is so much data. And it's like, okay, take a step back, look at all the data, let it settle with you, and then find some actionable items, work on those, and see what you can do from there. And you've done a phenomenal job, I think, and just even with the pandemic, in looking at the data, pivoting it, and doing what's working now. So let's talk about what you've seen in the data with the pandemic and things that are changing and how you've gotten to this place.
So I will say the majority of my items are not thrifted now. So I still have thrifted items. I don't want to say I will never get rid of that aspect of my business. However, when things started to reopen here, just like in other states, the retail stores were the place to go. I mean, my thrift stores, first of all, didn't open until later. And even when they did open, by the time donations, we're talking like a month between them opening and new donations going out every time. And the donations that were coming out were just not great. And the prices are really high, and they're still really high. That has not changed. So my mindset had to change. Well, if I'm going to spend $12.99 on a used pair of Madewell jeans, or I can go to a retail store and get brand new with tag for $10 or $15. Well, what am I going to do? Well, for me, it was to go to the retail store and get the Madewell jeans for $10 to $15. And then, yes, I'm spending more, but they're new at tag, and they sold anywhere between $60 to $80 or more, depending on the style, because it all depends on what style, all depends on how in demand they are. All those other aspects play into it. So just because it's new at tags doesn't mean it's going to sell. You need to understand the brands. You need to understand what people are looking for, all of that stuff. So I started doing that. I started selling.
I want to touch base on this because I agree that you can have like a lot of I know Madewell is one of your big brands. You can have a lot of
seller.
Yeah, and you can have a lot of Madewell, but if you're having like old Madewell, and right, and so it's not going to be a top brand, and that's where you need to know your data. But what how do you figure out like these brands, and like where are you going to figure out what to purchase?
So when it
I mean,
comes,
you don't have to disclose all of your
yeah,
secrets,
yeah, no,
whatever
no,
you're
no, no, no,
comfortable
no,
with.
of course, no. When it comes, so we'll take Madewell for example, because Madewell is something that it's technically a mall brand. Madewell is in malls. It's not. It's becoming a bread and butter brand because you can find it in so many different places now. It's not just exclusive in the Madewell store. I mean, it's J. Crew. They're the same company. So if you didn't know that, Madewell, J. Crew, it's all the same. So I am a big researcher. That's just who I am. So for me, when I look at my data and I see, okay, like right now, my top 3 are Madewell, Lululemon, and J. Crew. So it's no surprise that those 3 are my top selling. But now I'm going to do my research. I'm going to go on the Madewell website. I'm going to look and see what's trending on the Madewell website. I'm going to look and see what's just in. I'm going to go to PoshMark, and because PoshMark is my main platform, and I'm going to see what people are in search of, ISO. I'm going to see what's selling in the jeans section. I'm going to go to the what's recently sold. I don't really sell a lot of tops. I don't like to. I've realized it's not worth my time for me personally. So I focus on jeans, I focus on shoes, I focus on handbags. Those are the 3 things I really focus on, and athletic wear right now, because that's just the place to be. If you're not picking up athletic wear, you should be.
Yes.
That's just the way the market's been
What
going.
everyone wants to wear. Yes, right.
Yeah, it's since March. That's like the sweet spot. Electronics and athletic wear. Those are the 3.
And if you want some athletic wear, I am doing mystery boxes of athletic wear. It was like the perfect segue. I had
it was.
But I purchased a palette of athletic wear. And so I'm selling off mystery boxes. The description, if you want to do the pre-sale, you can fill out the form down below. Not to cut you off, but I had to.
It's okay. It's okay. And I see that Diana said a lot of these brands are not even sold in my state, but that's okay because you can get these brands online, and that's how. So can I find Everlane here? Yeah, I can. There is an Everlane store in Boston. However, I typically can't find it in the thrift store. People hold on to that stuff. They're not, or they sell it themselves. There's just certain brands people will just sell themselves, or they hold on to until it has rips and holes everywhere. That's where my online sourcing comes in, and learning that process of it all, and sitting down for a couple hours on a Saturday and researching the brand and seeing what deals I can find and bundling and, all that kind of stuff. But that's a different, it's difficult to find certain brands. There's other ways of going around doing it. It's just a matter of learning how to do it, and it takes time. So you might not be comfortable with that, which is fine.
Well, and to that point too, is you can look at what you can find in your area and figure out what is selling. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, I'm trying to think, like American Eagle. You can sell American Eagle jeans or depending on the style and stuff.
Right.
But if you have that and you have access to it, you can definitely make money selling that. But you don't know that until you can see your numbers and really gauge, and then stop buying things that aren't selling. And you may say, hey, I saw this YouTuber and they were talking about Madewell. I saw Madewell at the thrift store. I'm going to pick it up. But if it's not a good style, then it's not relevant.
You should always be looking. So brands like J. Crew, Madewell, Athleta, they're all the same branch there. They have on their size tag what year it was made. So if you're picking it up and it says 2015, do not pick it up. If it says 2014, unless it's a piece that is very unique and still current today, then get it. But if it's not, people that follow that brand want the new style. They want the 2018, 2019, 2020 styles. That's just same thing with Anthropologie, like all of those more mainstream brands, that's how it works. That's why those pieces recycle so quickly, and that's why the resale value drops on them so fast too. So you need to keep that in mind.
Which is one of my favorite things about, I don't sell a ton of J. Crew or Madewell, but when I find it at the thrift store, that's the first thing that I do is look at the tag, because I'm like, okay, if this is 18, 19, or 20, I will buy it because I know it will sell. And some of we see a lot of athletic wear, like North Face, Patagonia, Columbia, and a lot of them, not depending on the year, but a lot of them will have the year on it as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that goes into my sourcing, but that's what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of retail arbitrage, a lot of online sourcing to get different brands to my closet. I had one of my best friends generously gave me a bag of 100 pieces of Lululemon, and I'm very thankful for that. She didn't want to sell it herself. She didn't want any money for it. She just said, you take it, you make the money on it. Yeah, because I offered to pay. I said, you know, I feel awful just taking it from you, because she was going to list it. And she said, you know what, I just don't have the time. She owns her own business. And she's slammed, so she just doesn't have the time to do it. So she said, I'm just going to give it to you. So thankfully for that, I mean, I've been able to hit certain financial goals I wanted to hit. So it's been great. It's brought different people to my closet. People are bundling all these pieces. I was able to give a lot of people that are on here right now and other Instagram friends great deals on Lululemon when I had my 50% off sale. So that kind of kickstarted it all for me, I think, for this month, which has been nice. But, you know, every month is different. And right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm picking up a lot of things at the retail store. I am online sourcing a lot. But come next month, that might change. I don't know. It all depends on what the first few weeks of October looks like. Mm-hmm. It really depends.
And I think that's what in general, I think in general in business, that's what you have to do, is constantly pay attention and be willing to pivot. But what makes our business so much better is we are a business of one. I can make, like, I made a decision on Thursday that I was going to pivot my business, and I increased my sales this month by 20%.
Which is awesome.
You can't do that if you're at Nordstrom's. Like, you've already purchased your stuff for a year, you have employees, so you have to try, and it's frustrating too, because we're only, you know, a business of one, and I feel like there's so many other people coming in, and we have a lot of things that are negative, but you can look at the positive, and I can look at my data and pivot things and pivot my ASP and pivot what I'm buying. And you can't do that as a big business, and so you have to kind of take advantage.
One point on the retail shopping that I think is very important, because being on social media, especially Instagram, you get like sucked in, and you see everyone going to Nordstrom because they're having a big sale, right? You see everyone going to TJ Maxx because they're having a big clearance sale. Be mindful and be cautious, because those pieces lose their value very quickly. The more resellers that go out and purchase those items, the lower average sale price will be.
Yes, the market will get saturated. And so unless you're there on day one and you're listing on day one, it's going to be saturated. And so I don't do a lot of retail arbitrage.
It's a lot of work. Okay. So like, sourcing is a lot of work. Retail arbitrage is a lot of work as well. It requires a lot of research. And a lot of times I don't feel like researching in the store, so I'll buy it, come home. If it's not worth my time, it goes back the next day. Like, I don't keep it around. I don't even bother trying it. If I've done my research and it's not worth it, then it's got to go back, because I'm not going to waste my time on it. So you really need to pay attention to that stuff.
But I think you have a lot of points. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, resellers, you just shop and you things sell and you make lots of money. There's so many other things to be successful at it. There's so many other things. You spend so much time. Like, even when I'm thrifting, I spend at least a third of my time not actually thrifting. Like, I go through and I thrift everything, and then I decide what I'm going to pick. Sometimes I don't look up comps so much anymore, but sometimes I do. And I mean, I spend a lot of other time, and I spend a lot of prep work knowing what I'm going to look for while I'm at the thrift store. We're almost done, and I knew we would have like a zillion things to talk about, nothing accountability related. On that note, so this is called an accountability. In the past couple of weeks, that hasn't been accountability, which I'm fine with. I think we're having good conversations. If you guys have other ideas for things, I can call it like reseller chat or something. I'm terrible with words. I'm good with numbers. I'm terrible with words. So if you have some like catchy phrase, I think I might change the name of it.
This is accountability when you think about it, because we are talking about things that's going on, and you're writing different things down, and I'm kind of talking things through, and it might.
All right, sold.
In there. It's still accountability.
Yeah. All right, you got me. Yeah. All right, I'm sold.
There. Honestly, when I sit here and I look at the numbers, I'm like, okay, yeah, you had a really great month, but I don't think I can sustain this in October, because most of this is from the Lululemon. Mm-hmm. And what am I going to do now in October? And I've thought about this for a couple of days now. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that yet, but I've thought about it. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, okay, once Lululemon's gone, then what are you going to do? Because that was great.
More Lululemon. You knew that it sold. Like,
I know. So I have to go to the outlet every weekend and go buy some. I don't have time.
Find ways to find Lululemon.
I know.
Or that's kind of something that this pandemic has helped me. It has forced me to try, like, I bought reseller mystery boxes that, while I didn't think they were good, they taught me new brands that I would have never picked up before. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm going to look for that now this time. I purchased palettes. I never would have thought about that last year. So I think it is helpful. And I feel comfort in it because I can research ahead of time, and then I will look at, I do my what sold Wednesdays, and I'm sharing all of this information with you guys as well, what I look at if I'm going to decide to buy more pallets or not. Before we do end, we're going to run over a few minutes. I hope you have a couple, because this is okay. This is going to be a heated question. I mean, I don't want to go into like hours of it, not heated, but there could be a lot to talk about. We've talked a lot of things. I want to talk platforms now, because I know that you're on multiple platforms. And you've mentioned PoshMark a couple times, but also Mercari, eBay. I kind of want to talk about your splits and where you're seeing the most success, and if you have any tips on that.
Yeah. So I am predominantly a PoshMark seller. That's just where I'm more comfortable with. However, I am on eBay, Mercari, and on Tradesy. I haven't really been focusing too much time on Tradesy right now. And there's no reason to it. I just haven't, because I just can't focus all my time on everything. But the two platforms I have been focusing a lot of time on, besides PoshMark, is eBay and Mercari. And I will say that the last 2 months, eBay and Mercari were ahead of, if you take away this month of September, where most of my Lululemon has sold on PoshMark, which is not surprising. eBay and Mercari, I mean, I had sales like back to back to back to back on eBay and Mercari. Now, that says something about Mercari. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are going on there. They did a lot of promotional videos. Their marketing is really on point. How do I balance it all? Is I use List Perfectly. So for me, once I list something on PoshMark, so what I do is I list my 10 items or whatever it is. I'm consistently listing every single day. So that's number one. So I'm consistently listing on PoshMark or eBay, whatever it is, right? Whatever one I'm listing on first, which for me is PoshMark, which everyone says is wrong. I know, but I list on PoshMark first.
There's no wrong.
No, but again, it's easier if you list it on eBay first and then you go from there. But regardless,
it's the same amount of drop downs either way. You just do it before or after.
Yeah. So I do that. I list my 10 items on PoshMark, and then immediately when I am done listing them, I am then cross-listing them to eBay and Mercari. So every platform is getting the same 10 listings every day. It's interesting to see that even though I'm doing that action on all three platforms, the two that I spend the least amount of time on are the ones that are producing the most sales. I do have returns on eBay, though. Just for example, last night I sold 2 pairs of boots, and maybe 2 weeks ago, and I just got the return request last night for those 2 pairs of boots. So it happens, right? That's just what eBay is like. They didn't fit them, so they're sending them back, and that's fine. I don't even bother fighting.
You'll sell again.
That's exactly it. It'll sell again. So it's been a learning curve for me to realize that I think certain items, certain luxury items and mid-tier luxury items are selling better on Mercari, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because I would never, ever, ever think that those items would sell on Mercari. But I'm talking about items that were listed on PoshMark for maybe 2 or 3 months that I put them on Mercari and they sold within days. So I don't really understand Mercari. I'm like in this weird place with it where it's like, so what do I list on Mercari? Everything? Like, do I treat it like an eBay? Like, I'm in this weird place with Mercari right now, but I love it, and it's easy and very streamlined, and I like the communication aspect of Mercari. eBay, I do love. It's not my first love, but I do love it. I think there's more opportunity on eBay, so that's why I focus time on eBay. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity on Mercari now too, with the amount of people that are on it all the time. And they have incentives, which is great. So
I'm not on there.
I had an incentive to list this past month because they gave me a $20 credit. I bought myself a pair of Doc Martens the other day. I found them for like $40, and then I used my $20 credit and I paid the rest. Like, is multi-platform for everyone? No. I'm gonna be honest, it's a lot of work. You have to keep up with it. You need to be able to remember what sold on what platform and delete it off the other platform. And when it comes to
keep your on that note though, because you use List Perfectly, do you keep your listings in List Perfectly? Because then you could just if you keep it in there, then you can just delete it from there.
I know, but I don't do that because I don't know. I just don't.
And also,
No.
real quick, I love List Perfectly. I think I probably have an affiliate code. I don't care if you use it or not. I'm not saying this because I want money for it. But two things with List Perfectly. One, you can keep all of your listings in there and then you mark it as sold and it takes it off all the platforms. So it makes it less work from that aspect. And then also they have a CSV file. So if you have all your listings in there, you can export and it'll tell you what platform it's sold on. And it's compatible with my multi-platform dashboard. It's not specific. It's not like a copy and paste like the PoshMark ones, just because of the way that it's set up. But it is compatible, and I have worked behind the scenes with List Perfectly to make sure that it works because I do think that is helpful for resellers to make less work. So that's my List Perfectly spiel. I did have a quick question for you though, and then I am going to sign off.
Question here too.
Oh yes, yeah.
Have you ever tried the Real? Yes. I haven't sent anything to them since, I don't know, February maybe, because I took everything back once the pandemic hit. But I do have a box. I sent a box today because I found the Max Mara coat and I don't want to sell it myself. It did so well with the first Max Mara coat I found last year. I shipped that off today. But I do have another box going for them, but I do like using the Real. Yes. If you find luxury items, I recommend it because some just don't sell on the platforms. They don't sell well.
And people are specifically going to the Real. Have you done ThreadUp yet? I didn't hear you mention that.
Yeah, so I do it for like donations or stale items. So that's what I use.
Like your business model.
I can't be bothered with that. I can't.
That's kind of where
I think it's because I'm not a traditional full-time reseller, and it would have to change so many different aspects of my business. So I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and all the people, like real talk, I'll get into it and I share this all in my Wednesday videos. You guys can see it evolve. I've only sent in 4 boxes. But the claiming that it's less work, I'm calling bullshit. It is not,
I think it's a lot of work.
It is. It's different work. So if you don't like listing and you don't like shipping, hands down, like that's it for you. But then it's only on one platform. So like you're committed to only being there. And if you like monitoring stuff, which I am not, it looks like I'm organized because I have to overcompensate for my lack of organization. And so I don't need something where I have to monitor someone else on their timeline too, right? Like I had a box that processed today and I had to go in and change the prices within 12 hours when I'm remote learning. And then I have YouTube and then I don't have time for that. I can list when I have time to list. That's my spiel. Stay tuned on What Sold Wednesdays. Once I start making $1 zillion, I may change my tune.
$1 billion. And if you do, let me know, because then I'm going to hop on the bandwagon, I guess. It's just a lot of work that I just don't want to do right now.
Yes, it is added work. And I think that is the thing with all platforms. If someone is like, oh, this new platform is so much easier, it's not. It's just different. And you have to learn the kinks that work for all of it. One last question, and then we're signing off, guys. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me.
I can talk all night. Doesn't matter.
Well, we could, but everyone else on the call too. And I can hear my kids starting to get. One last question. Oh, so you mentioned, because I've kind of been in this state of mind too, that you are spending more time on PoshMark because all you're doing to Mercari and eBay is, listing what you list on PoshMark. Right. And then PoshMark, as we all know, is the sharing and the sending offers and the, all of the things that encompass PoshMark. And you're making more money on eBay and Mercari. So what, have you considered scaling back some of your time on PoshMark to put into other aspects of the business?
I've thought about it, but then there's a part of my brain that goes, if you start spending less time on there, you're not going to be seeing results that you are on PoshMark that you normally do. And then it's going to freak me out because I consider PoshMark my main platform. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I could make the full transition to eBay, but that also is going to take a lot of time and work and energy. I'm in a weird
just different. Yeah.
I'm in a weird place with it. I sell less but make more on those two platforms, on eBay and Mercari. Where on PoshMark, I have to sell more to make what I'm making on eBay and Mercari. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just wondering, and the reason that I'm asking, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm wondering this because this is an internal. It's an internal battle that I'm having with myself right now, and I'm doing a test. So I'll share probably in 2 weeks what happened. But the month of, we're September, right? Yeah. Almost October. I keep thinking it's October already. So for the month of September, I have decreased my activity on PoshMark by 75%.
Wow.
And I will, right, because I was like, I'm spending all of this time on Poshmark. Is it actually getting me stuff? Should I be can I put that somewhere? Like my eBay is finally high enough up that if Poshmark like really decreased, I would still feel okay-ish. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm not, right? So I got eBay to a place where I felt comfortable, like, okay, if Poshmark does decrease, I still will be okay. So I'll share in 2 weeks all of my data and what happened. But I'm wondering for you if it would be something that's interested in, because I spend so much, I mean, hours and hours on Poshmark sending out offers and sharing and liking and all of these things. And I was like, it's 8 o'clock at night. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go down to the basement. I'm going to get on eBay. I'm going to send offers in 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go spend time with my husband. And I wanted to see what's going to happen. So I'll share that with everybody in a couple of weeks, but you might be surprised.
I know. I've thought about it. I definitely have been spending more time on eBay and Mercari to get to that point. You know, it's taking me longer, but I'm going in that direction. Like I'm leaning more that way than anything. I don't spend as much time on Poshmark. The only thing I spend time on Poshmark, honestly, is listing. That's the one consistent behavior that I always have on Poshmark is the listing aspect. Everything else is when I have time.
The extra stuff, right?
It is a time-consuming app. Extremely.
And I think to your point too, Poshmark is so easy to learn from the beginning. eBay, and I don't know Mercari, but eBay is a huge learning curve. So it took me 8, 9, 10 months to get on eBay to feel where I was on par with Poshmark. Poshmark, the first month I took it seriously, I was making what I'm making now on there, right? Yeah. Leslie is saying, I agree, Sarah. I wouldn't treat ThreadUp like a business. It's way too much work for me. It's great for people who are virtual learners. I agree. And I'm kind of leaning towards stale inventory. Like I've sold 2 items on there that I've had for a year and a half, and they sold for like $300.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
yeah. I'm hoping they don't get returned. Knock on wood. I still have my 14 days. But yeah, so I'm anxious to see your result. I love the community with Poshmark, and there are some other great features too. Yeah, I wouldn't completely get rid of Poshmark.
No.
And that's why I like my data is I'm doing this experiment, and then I'll share like what happened. And then if I do it and it doesn't work, then I go back to what I was doing before.
Well, I think we have to wait and see once they become public what happens too. Like that's another variable.
Yes, that's valid, because I am curious if a lot of this extra activity on Poshmark, if that might change. Okay, on that note, I'm going to go over my little spiel that I did at the beginning, just to remind you guys of everything that I'm doing this week on social media, since it is busy. Mystery boxes are for sale. I have a pallet, new with tag, active mystery boxes. They are going to be pre-sale. There's a limited amount, so if you want to make sure that you snag one, they are going on pre-sale on Friday. To get notifications of that pre-sale, you must fill out the form in my description, or it's on my Instagram. And if you purchase pre-sale, you will get a free gift with your purchase. They are various sizes if you want to resell them, and then you can also buy them in your size if you want to wear them as well. As far as social media goes, the Posh Fest is starting this week. So I have my what sold video on Wednesday, where I will share my data and what sold this week. I had an amazing weekend, so definitely tune in for that. And then Thursday is the Posh Fest party. Oh, it's like a mouthful. But it's a pre-party. So the proceeds, it's $5, but the proceeds are going to Kim City. She was in an accident, and I will be on a panel for that. So definitely make sure to join for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're doing like a whole red carpet and like really trying to make it a whole party. And then Posh Fest starts Friday. I am doing a recap on YouTube at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard on Posh Fest day 1 recap. So we'll go over all of the sessions on day 1. And on Saturday, I am speaking around the lunchtime on a panel about spreadsheet success for Poshmark. One last thing, Monday, I will be doing a recap of Poshmark day 2. So a week from today, this accountability chat will be going over Posh Fest day 2, and we'll go over a recap with Girly Girl Styles. Bill and Tori are going to be here, and then I might have one other guest as well. That is it. Thank you guys so much for joining.
I like your husband's comment, to buy a stock or not. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see.
Oh, yes, right. I know. This is, we talked about this today on our lunch hour. These are our conversations.
Yeah, I don't know. Too early to tell.
Yeah. And like I said, they had already said they were going to, and then they pulled out. So I'm still a little bit cautious about what it's going to bring. Thank you guys so much for joining and hanging out with me for the extra 15 minutes. Daniela, it's always a pleasure. I'm sure in a couple of months I will have you on again because there's always so much to learn and grow from each other. This is open to anyone. So if you guys do want to come on, definitely just send me a DM and I will get you hooked up with a time